Howdy, my name is Nona, and this is the outside of a donut shop. But this is Erik Mona. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi everybody, I'm Erik Mona. I'm the Chief Creative Officer and Publisher at Paizo, makers of Pathfinder and Starfinder.
And he has honored me with a lovely interview here. It is the last day of Gencon before everyone goes their separate ways. Been super cool seeing a lot of cool people in person. But let's go ahead and get on with this interview. We're going to be talking about a little bit about Paizo, a little about Erik himself. Shouldn't take too long. So,
all right.
I have my cheat sheet here with all of my questions. There's a B next to my cameraman.
Nice. It's like a bonus guest.
Oh, hi, man. Okay. All right. Minor phobia. I'm okay. This is on camera now. Great.
This is good. This is the thumbnail.
Just all caps. I almost got stung with Erik Mona.
Maybe Erik Mona did get stung.
I hate this. Oh, God, stop. Can you see us okay over here?
Yeah.
Fantastic. We're over here now.
The lighting's slightly different, but...
So let's go ahead and start. First off, Erik, I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this, but how long have you been with Paizo as a company?
I have been with Paizo since before Paizo existed. So we started as the periodicals department at Wizards of the Coast.
Okay.
And we spun off shortly after Hasbro bought Wizards.
Right.
And I came with the furniture.
Nice.
So I've been there since 2002, day one. I think other than Lisa and Vic, who are co-owners of the company, I'm the only person who's been there the entire time.
Okay, so did you actually get to do any work on Dragon Magazine?
I was the editor-in-chief of Dragon.
Nice, that's so cool. I haven't been able to get my hands on a copy of those, but I want to check them out. How they look back in the day.
In fact, like the early Paizo Dragons are a little bit of like a preview of Pathfinder because we were made by all the same staff.
Right.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Too cool. Too cool. Well, obviously, you won E's in the past. That's 2E focused audience here. So what I'm curious to hear is how was the transition from 1E to 2E? Were there any specific challenges you faced? Was there anything? Yeah, tell us about it.
I mean, yeah. There always are,
Of course.
especially when you're making some pretty substantial changes, you know. And so you've got external challenges, which is the audience, and a lot of them are perfectly happy with the current version. A lot of them want a different new thing, and that's part of the reason why we do a big public playtest, so we can hear from a bunch of other people and get their feedback and get a sense of kind of, we know what we want, but what the audience want. And so that's an issue and a challenge. And in some ways, with some folks, I think that challenge continues. Right? There's still people who, one thing we did for first edition is we created a ton of content. And so on day one with Pathfinder 2, it's like, hey, we got one more class in the core rulebook than we used to. And there people are like, where are the other 32 classes?
Right? Yeah.
So some folks want to wait till there's a critical mass of material converted. Some folks want to wait till they finish one of the 40 adventure paths we published in first edition.
Yeah.
And then other people are coming to the game now brand new, who never played.
Oh yeah, I know a ton of people who are coming over from 5th edition and everything that have never played Pathfinder first.
Exactly. And then, just to give you the little insider view, right? It's not just the customers where there's some challenges and struggles, but also internally.
Yeah.
If you all of a sudden with all the designers, you open we sort of say we open the patient, and then you look at it and you go, oh, we need to fix that, and that, and that, and that. But not everyone necessarily agrees, even in-house, at first especially, what needs to change. And iterating an edition of RPG is like an ongoing process, right? So you might say, oh, well, this is my first guess of how we're going to fix multiple attacks, right? But it might not be the final one, and it might not be. You might have several iterations before you go, and so it's a little bit of experimentation, a little bit of in-house play testing, a little bit of just listening to the audience and getting a sense of what they wanted all along, and then do your best to try to figure it out. And that's hard.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
But I think it's great. I mean, second edition, I think is fundamentally a more solid game than first edition.
I agree.
I like first edition a lot. Yeah. It's got lots of little nooks and crannies, lots of ways to really make it awesome. But it really helps if you really know it.
Yes.
Whereas with second edition, you find perfect examples like action economy.
Yes.
And so with first edition, it's like I'm at a convention at the Paizo booth trying to introduce someone to Pathfinder, and it's like, okay, well, let me explain. There's 7 different actions. There's an attack action, there's a full attack action, there's a move action, there's a move equivalent action, there's an immediate action, there's a, just like it goes on and on. And especially for someone who's maybe never played an RPG, it's like, what?
Right.
And also, even for people who have been at it for a while, I mean, eventually you pick it up, and it's a lot easier than it sounds, but that's a lot of rulebook
barrier,
consultation during the game. And so with second edition, with us being able to say, okay, you can pretty much do anything you want every turn,
It has a
and
cost.
everything you want is an action.
Right.
So you want to move twice and attack, it's an action.
I love it.
Or it's 3 actions. You want to attack 3 times, 3 actions. And that's just so much more intuitive.
Yes.
So on that level, it's better. On the level of, with first edition, you'd always have all kinds of feats, and you'd get lots of options for adding more feats, for example. But every time, all feats were created equal. So every time you had a decision to make, you're like, oh, I've got sharp elf ears that give me a social bonus when I'm among elves, and it totally fits my character.
Right.
Green leaf, sharp ear, or whatever. And then you've got power attack.
Right?
And you have to make that
choose
choice every time. And furthermore, if you got one person in your table and they choose a power attack every time, power attack, power attack, power attack, and you're going sharp ears, smells nice, whatever, you're falling behind, and maybe you're even putting the party at risk.
Right.
Because
you're sacrificing combat potential.
Right, but
for
so with
social.
the different buckets in second edition, you don't have to make that bar.
I think that was brilliant. And the same can be said for the bonuses as well,
Yeah.
condensing all the different types of bonuses to what? Items, status, and circumstance? Is that it?
Yeah. So there you go. I mean,
Right?
and there were like 100,000 of those
Yeah.
in first edition. So.
But yeah, cool. So it sounds like people have enjoyed the condensing of everything.
I think,
you'll have the traditionalists who,
Sure.
what's nice is that first edition is still there. It's
Yeah,
not
we
going
make that.
anywhere.
And we keep the all the rule books in printed paperback. As long as people keep buying them, they'll keep making
Right,
them.
sure.
So.
Now, more of a personal question. Have
Yeah.
you preferred working on 1E or 2E with the time spent so far? Like comparing the first 2 years of each system?
That's an interesting question.
Because with first edition, you didn't really have to try to sell people on a whole new game.
Right. Right. Well, we did. I mean, and it evolved too, because when we made first edition the first time, it was like, okay, there's no more 3.5.
Right.
We're like 3 or 4 adventure paths in supporting 3.5. How do we keep our business going and with a book you can't buy in stores as the main game? And that's when we decided to do Pathfinder. And at first, Pathfinder really was, a lot of people called it 3.75.
Yeah, people do this day.
So, and that's about it. It's about a 0.25 incremental change.
Right.
So there's not a lot of change. But then we started introducing stuff like the Advanced Player's Guide, and you get new, what we call at the time, races and new classes.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, it's like starting to become its own thing.
Right.
And that's a really important, I think, point for Pathfinder 1, is when
Right.
people started thinking of it as Pathfinder and not just a sort of glorified version of D&D.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I guess what I'm asking is, did you prefer the slow evolutionary process of 1E or sort of the recreation process of 2E in the new rule set?
So honestly, I think, from the rules perspective, I think I kind of prefer the process for second edition because we've been working with first edition for 10 years. That it's closer to 3.5 in its like infrastructure and the skeleton of the system, and that means you learn a lot about what you want to change.
Fair.
Both from the customers telling you that and from your own gaming and stuff like that. And it's like, so second edition gave us the opportunity to make some changes that we felt many members of the community wanted to make for a long time.
Especially on those core classes and stuff, right? Because those had to be very similar.
Yes, but not just on the classes. Stuff also just in like terminology. In stuff like updating the character sheet to have your pronouns on it.
Yeah, sure.
For moving away from like 19th century sense of like race and saying no, we're going to try and do something with ancestry. We're going to try and take a little bit more nuanced approach to this. And so there's a lot of stuff that you come up with in the middle of. A great example is Starfinder.
Yeah.
Starfinder still uses race. We don't want to do that anymore, but we can't change the fundamental name of one of the fundamental things in the rules until we do a new edition.
Right.
So as you're doing any edition of a game, you start kind of this sideboard list of like, well, when we start over, what are we going to change? And that's
so you're finally getting to implement all those changes from 10 years of
Exactly. And because the game's more inclusive, because the game's easier to learn now, there's more people coming into it, and that's good for the business.
That's awesome. Yeah, really cool to hear. So a really interesting question. and I don't even know if you're allowed to tell us, how many years out of content for 2E
I can tell you that.
has already been, like, at the very least discussed?
I'll break it all down.
Let's go.
And it's exciting because, like, we're getting right back into it, like, next week when we get back to the office,
Nice.
you know? So, we solicited, which means we've sent the descriptions of the products to the distributor. May 2022 is due next Friday.
Oh my god.
So when I get back, my team has put together descriptions of all the books that we're going to do in May 2022. I look through those, edit them up, spice them up a little bit sometimes, and then make sure that the ISBN number and the price and all the nuts and bolts details that, like, book distributors need to buy our stuff.
Right.
A product is not real until that happens.
Okay.
Right? So theoretically, my boss, Lisa, I could just be like, we're not doing it until the day before that happens.
Fair.
So everything up to May 2022 is, like, locked in.
Okay.
Locked in.
Right.
And the schedule that we know goes all the way through December of 2022.
Okay.
In terms of, like, I know every flip mat we're doing, I know every
Nice.
adventure path, you know who the authors are. In many cases, people are already writing that stuff.
That's cool.
Then you get into 2020, so that's 2022, so that's all
Right.
next year.
Yeah.
So then you get into 2023, and now I know all the hardcover books we're going to do. I know the adventure paths we're going to do. The folks who are running those, you know, my design team and the adventure path team, they know a lot more than I know, right? At this point, because we know just kind of the broad strokes.
Right.
I haven't put the 2023 stuff into, like, a grid where I can tell you every single thing is coming out exactly this month.
But, like, what is
But
happening?
I know the
has
big
been...
beats
Okay,
of what's
nice.
happening for both Pathfinder and Starfinder. Cool. Then you get into 2024,
All right.
and I could tell you a reasonably accurate what the big beats are going to be.
Okay.
Might change. There's still enough time that we can pivot or whatever. Then you get into 2025 and forward, really, and the Adventure Path team has got a list of, like, here's all of the Adventure Path ideas we kind of want to do, going through, I don't know, 28 maybe,
Wow.
something like
All
that.
right. Does that include, like, recreations of older ones as well?
Less so.
Okay.
Less so. That we can make those decisions a little bit closer to the day. But not.
Yeah.
But yes, you
Yeah.
know, I know some of those things too. No, this is more like, we know we want to do a adventure path that focuses on a big war, for example.
Yeah, sure.
But we don't know exactly when we want to do that yet. So there's kind of a list that's like, we got this much time, these many stories.
Nice.
How do we mix them all in? And then in the same token, we've been working with the design team a lot about, okay, what major design elements do we still want to do with second edition? You know, what classes are still out there, maybe from first, that we never brought forward? What new classes do we want to do? What themes of books and ideas do we think would be really cool?
Right.
And so we have a big list of those things, but we haven't necessarily said, okay, that's in March of 2026.
Gotcha.
We just have this list of things that needs to get sort of built out.
Yeah.
So.
And that leads perfectly into my follow-up question,
Yeah.
which is, is there a big picture for it sounds like there is a big picture for 2E going forward.
Oh, yeah.
And are you going to be continuing to release things sort of in these, like, thematic chunks of things that come out together?
Yeah.
Yeah, because,
Yes.
like, Secrets of Magic came out with Strength of Thousands.
Yes.
Kind of deal. Yes.
Right. And that, again, that's kind of the benefit of planning ahead and getting the team leads to get in a room or a Zoom, you know, and talk it through and sort of say, hey, we're doing this, and if we do this, and there's a source, we're doing this AP that we really want to do, and then there's a source book that's on that list that would fit really well there, that would complement each other.
Nice.
Right. And so, like, that's how you get Agents of Edgewatch and ideally the Absalom book out coming in the same. Roughly the same time. It didn't really work out that way, right? And that's why you have Mwangi Expanse and Secrets of Magic and
I think Mwangi Expanse and Slithering weren't terribly far apart. Like,
not terribly far,
Yeah.
but that was more coincidence.
Okay.
honestly. And also because, you know, at the beginning it was much more about, like, the first couple of years, like, we need our first couple adventures,
Yeah.
get out the core rule book, and now it's kind of like, what's next? And that's actually more fun.
Cool. Yeah, you're over. Yeah, you're past that 2-year mark. You've got the fundamental. Because you Paizo's mentioned that. Yeah, APG, core rulebook, the first 3 bestiaries. Those are, like, the core
That's the
books.
core, right?
Yeah.
Right, and that's why, like, the spine on Secrets of Magic looks different.
Yeah.
For example.
Oh, and the art itself,
Oh,
it's a
pretty
totally
sweet.
different presentation in a great way.
And then Guns and Gears, which is coming out soon, that'll have a different spine, and we'll see where it goes from there.
That's so exciting. All right, well, let's wrap this up with a few personal questions just about
Ooh,
Erik.
okay.
So, do you get to play 2E often yourself?
Not as often as I would like, especially post-pandemic.
Of
I had
course,
a
yeah.
weekly game before the pandemic. my local friends who have moved away. You know, just like any other gamer, like my game can fall apart too.
The schedule is the big bad.
I play every couple of weeks, but I don't play as much as I would like.
Gotcha. Do you play any other TTRPGs? Anything?
Yeah, I play Pathfinder 1. I'm in a long-going Pathfinder 1 campaign, which I love, but I'm sort of the guy chomping at the bit. We hit some problem, and I'm like, you know, guys, if we were playing Pathfinder 2, this wouldn't be a problem. And they're like, whatever,
Eric.
You know, so I do that. I do Call of Cthulhu.
Nice.
And that's mostly what I'm doing.
Okay, nice. Do you have a favorite role you like to play between, you know, support, frontline, face man?
It's a face.
Yeah, don't we all love the face?
Because I really like, fundamentally, I think one of the things that appeals to me about role playing is I'm pretty hammy. You know, like I can get kind of. I've done live streams every once in a while. You can go look yourself. but I like throwing weird voices. Of course. Part of it's like I'm usually the GM.
That's
so
true.
I have to do different characters and voices, and I love that. And so I want to be. I sometimes have to pull myself back. You know? It's like I want to be that guy, the character who's like interacting with the NPC.
Yes, proactive, looking for stuff to do.
And I'm because I'm mostly a GM. I'm also the player who's like, oh, how do you spell that NPC's name? Like, this must be a clue. Let me write that down. You know, and so I'm like, I'm super paying attention. So it makes sense to kind of be up in the action, talking to the NPCs and stuff. But you gotta share the spot.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Do you have a favorite class in second edition?
Do I have a favorite class in second edition? Yeah. Oh boy.
Whether your favorite to play, your favorite mechanically.
Well, I'll tell you this. I think the fighter is way more interesting to play than it's ever been.
So fascinating.
And I think that the shield mechanic, which honestly, even like the first time they brought it to me, I'm just like, I don't know if I totally understand this, boys. But it's like it adds dynamic action to the game.
It just adds that design space for things like the new Sparkling Targe Magus to augment shield with class features, which is just so fun.
Super cool.
Yeah.
But I also like, you know, I love the action economy of second edition. So I really like playing like clerics and stuff where I have more control over my healing, you know,
the multi-action
the way
spells.
the action economy works.
Great.
Similarly, even though it's such a simple pleasure, the doing as a wizard, you know, I'm going to use 3 actions to shoot 3 magic.
It feels great.
It feels so good.
Yes.
You know, so
I
always like to play a new character class every time I play a character.
Same.
I haven't made my way all the way through even the book classes yet.
Oh, me
and
either.
so like they're all fun. You know, I hate to sound like a company shill.
But it's
person,
true
but
though.
it's
They've
like,
all been given so much love.
There's new things in every one. And again, one of the things that makes I think Pathfinder 2 different maybe than even Pathfinder 1 to some degree, although I think Pathfinder 1 is really customizable. But I think like there's not just like, this is the one way to play a cleric, or this is the one way to play a fighter. There's lots of different ways to explore even within a single class. And so, you know,
and that's what I love. That's what I love about each class getting individual feat buckets now.
Right.
You know, and not everyone's not picking from the same list, which is real. You know, you get the fighter who takes power attack, and the barbarian who takes power attack. And sure, they both have power attacks, but even just the way you read them in the book, they feel like slightly different feats because they're from the different classes. They have different sort of like upgrades. I know, which love it all. On the same vein, favorite ancestry that you favorite to play or favorite designs, and especially with all the ones that have come out, that's got to be tough.
I think there's new ones. Yeah, new ones come out every time. And it's like the first thing I do is I look at the picture. Does it look cool? Can I see myself inhabiting the skin of that character? But then lately, you know, so many of the neat little abilities, like the one that I just keep coming back to is the kobold who has the cringe.
Yes, I love
this makes me laugh, you know, and that's what I want to laugh.
Or like the gnome, what is it, like big eyes or something like that? It's
lots of cool stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and even just a little single thing like that can inspire an entire character. You know, so.
And there's just so many ways you can move, especially some of the more dynamic, I don't know if dynamic, like the Kenrasu. The Kenrasu, just your physical form has so much customizability just from flavor. My girlfriend's playing one in Malevolence. The party found her in the house. And she's actually an Aasimar who was cursed and turned into a Kenrasu.
Oh, wow.
She's a bard with a theremin built into her Kenrasu form that she can play.
Nice.
So,
I was sold on that one from the picture. You know, it's just like, whoa, what?
Right? What is this thing?
Yeah.
It's so cool. All right, let's wrap this up with one final, probably the most difficult question so far.
Okay.
If you could have one magic item in real life, what would it be?
Oh boy. Something that would allow me to cast like a time stop, so that I could catch up on my emails. You know,
Yeah.
I think would probably be my number one.
You'd use like a level 20 artifact to
just
catch up
do
on
emails.
emails.
And I'll tell you, there's thousands of people who would appreciate it. You know? No, I mean, just like that to me is like the commodity that is. I need like
Time.
a 4-action economy to get all my stuff done.
Yeah,
you know?
that's fair.
So time, yeah, I want to stop time.
I feel
for
that.
everyone
I
to
feel
be.
that. Awesome. Well, hey, thank you so much for doing this, Eric. This
Hey,
was
dude.
an absolute
Love the
pleasure.
channel.
Thank
you so much. Great to meet you.
And thank y'all for watching. I hope y'all have a wonderful rest of your day. It is hot in Indiana, so we're going to go back inside. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And until next time, no nat ones.